Okay, the person I'm about to introduce has really, now listen to me very carefully, has embraced this social media aspect of the business and now have become a leader and teaching not only her team, but outside of her team, social media and social selling, and that kind of stuff. She just recently relocated. She was from Maine. She moved down to North Carolina, so she's going to try out this warmer weather and see if she likes it with her husband. One of her favorite things to do is just to get in a car, no plans, and just take off and go find a trail that they can hike. So obviously they're really into that, which is really cool. Her family is having tremendous success. I'm talking about, siblings to parents are having, just tremendous success with LifeVantage. And I would love to welcome Chelsea Fournier to the webinar. Chelsea, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfect. First and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time to do some double training today. I understand that you had a big Super Saturday with your team, and thank you so much. I don't know, maybe me, I would have been exhausted to do too. So it's a big thank you from this incredible team for you being on this morning.
You are so welcome. I'm honored to be here and have already done 2 sit downs and plugged into Pro9. Marcy and Dondi Nettles are doing a Zoom training up for my team in Maine. So let's share the wealth. So I appreciate you having me on. So glad I was able to hop on a little bit early and hear Carrie's amazing presentation on compensation. So important to understand the basics. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you want to give me, this is a brand new iMac, so you can hopefully see some slides. So I have been granted the fun topic of talking about social media. And I'm going to share a little bit about my story and how and why I decided to embrace social media. But we're going to talk about how to grow your network, your influence, and your sales through Facebook. So there are lots of different approaches to social media. One second, let me start my timer so I can respect time. I'm going to focus mostly on Facebook, specifically through your personal profile. And I'm guessing, I see over 100 people on here, I'm guessing there's a wide range of how many people are using Facebook or not using Facebook, are putting in time but not getting out results. And so we're going to talk about how you can really start to tweak that with a couple specific homework items at the end that you can absolutely implement today and at least start to see these theories kick into action a little bit. So the first thing, a word I want to talk about real briefly is the word influence. So many of the elites, our Master Pro 10s, are amazing leaders in our company. Wouldn't you all agree that part of why they are such dynamic leaders is that they bring great influence? And influence really means adding value. So I love this quote by Napoleon Hill: the ability to influence people without irritating them is the most profitable skill that you can learn. I think this is kind of a funny quote because especially in social media, we can all think of at least one person on our Facebook feed where we say, oh my gosh, they post every 5 seconds about their products, about their business, and it is actually irritating, right? So Facebook and social media can give you a broader way to connect with more people, but it also can be a detriment if you're not doing it in a way that is influential and is instead irritating. I don't want that to be the case for any of you. I don't think it is. So we're going to give you some tips on that today. So my journey, my background is as an attorney. So I am the super nerdy person on our team that likes to develop systems and spreadsheets and all that stuff because that's my background. But I stepped into network marketing through LifeVantage a little over 5 years ago. May the 4th be with you. May the 4th is my 5-year anniversary with LifeVantage. And I am actually a pretty introverted person. I'm a pretty private person. I'm a pretty sensitive person, but I stepped into LifeVantage saying, I want to be coachable. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I said, I'll give it a year. I'll go to everything you tell me to do. I'll do whatever you say. Even though I was working full-time as an attorney, running a law firm, I didn't really have the time, but that's why I decided I needed to do this. So why am I telling you this? Because the coachability in me grew to a Pro 5 business in that first year. And what I started to realize is that I was having a hard time finding other people who could run at the level that I was. Because my sister who enrolled me, my sister and I, and Sarah and Chris Smith were some of the first people in the entire state of Maine. If you've never been to Maine, it's a really big state. We were driving 5 hours here, 6 hours there, 2 hours here. I was launching North Carolina. I was launching Buffalo, New York. I was in the car and I was coachable to do that, but I had work flexibility owning the firm I worked at that allowed that to happen. Whereas many people who I was bringing on were intimidated by the amount of windshield time that I was needing to put in to grow my business. So was feeling very stuck, very plateaued at Pro 5. And what I started to realize is that I was actually a weird attorney in that I grew my law practice through Twitter and LinkedIn. But when I stepped into network marketing, I actually wasn't harnessing my social networks at all. I was really growing through my warm database and those in-person meetings, sit-downs, coffee shops. So I started to figure out how we could blend this. Now, part of the reason that I did not initially step into doing social media is that I saw a lot of people as role models outside of our company, everywhere out there, using social media in a way that didn't feel authentic to me. So I am not a salesy person. Most of us join LifeVantage really out of heart-centered focus of helping people. And I didn't want to be doing like, how do I do a before and after of ourselves, right? Like people were doing before and afters of all these different things. It just didn't resonate with me. What we do here at LifeVantage is different. What we do here really matters, and it's not necessarily about flash. And that's what I was seeing as examples on social media. So I decided to really step into being a student of saying, hey, there's mentors, there's trainers, there's examples out there of people who are doing this in a way that I really feel like I could shine, and in a way that would play to my introverted kind of private person, but would allow me to reach more people. So now I run my business 90% on Facebook, but I'm going to talk about being high tech and high touch and why that really matters, because this should not intimidate you. This really is taking the core skills of network marketing as taught by Eric Worre at our trainings at LifeVantage and taking it into a digital space. It's not new skill sets. It's not new approaches. It's just gathering and communicating with people slightly differently. So how did this happen? I just decided to become a student. And so yes, now I grow my business primarily gathering and starting conversations through Facebook and then using other tools that we're going to talk about. So why Facebook? Why have I decided to make Facebook my hub when it could be Instagram or Snapchat or all these things that some I don't even know what they are these days? Because I was at a training one time about 3 years ago, and I went up to the trainer. I worked up all of my introverted courage to go talk to the trainer after and said, you know, hey, where should I be spending my time? If I'm going to step into social media, should I be creating a Facebook business page or on LinkedIn, or, you know, where should I be? And she said, where do you have the most eyeballs? And I said, oh, well, I probably have more Facebook friends than I have, you know, LinkedIn connections, or I don't even have a Snapchat account. So she said, go where the eyeballs are. Money follows eyeballs. And when you think about that concept, Facebook, there's a lot of eyeballs. It cannot be denied. Facebook has 1 billion active daily users. Messenger, if you don't have the Messenger app, download it onto your smartphone. Highly recommend. Huge money-making tool. Messenger has 1.2 billion monthly active users. People access Facebook an average of 8 times per day for a total of 35 minutes. Happens to be just about long enough to have them watch a good webinar, right? Everyone on Facebook is less than 3.5 degrees separated from each other, which I think is really cool. 40% of Facebook users have never liked a Facebook business page, which is why the old school method of using Facebook business pages is starting to wane. And so what could this look like for you? You know, as an attorney, I wanted to make sure I wasn't jumping into Facebook and being spammy and going against their compliance of what's actually allowed on Facebook. So what you're really going to focus on, should you choose to embrace this, is really of bringing that influence to your personal profile and then using the same skill sets of network marketing throughout the rest of the conversations, okay? What we're going to cover today. So we're going to talk about, is Facebook really that different from what you're used to? There may be some people here on today who are saying, I know I should be doing Facebook, but it feels really foreign or it's very different. So we're going to talk that through. I think some of the examples are going to make you chuckle and realize that you can absolutely step into this. It's not super scary. We're going to talk about some of the Facebook features that allow you to be high tech and high touch. Why your story is more powerful than a link. This might end the debate of which link should we be using. I always say the one that is best suited after you share your story. So we're going to talk about that. And 5 simple steps of homework that can cause you to dip your toe into an online workflow. Okay, so picture it. We're going to talk first about, is Facebook really that different from what you've been doing if you've been doing older school, traditional networking, right? So I'm going to picture at one point, I was really showing up to a BNI. If any of you are familiar with BNI or like a local networking event, a Chamber of Commerce event, right? If you're plugging into in-person networking events, let's talk about how using Facebook is actually very similar to showing up to a networking event to grow your database. So one of the reasons you show up to a networking event is to expand your network. So if you picture walking in maybe to an after hours kind of mix and mingle networking event, if you show up with a friend and there's 50 other people in the room, if you only talk to the one friend that you know and came with, is that really achieving the goal of growing your network? Well, not really. And you would kind of chuckle and be like, well, no, you should probably at some point split up and be like, hey, let's go work the room and come back. And so when you think about Facebook, it's the same thing. You don't only want to be talking at your existing friends and family. Facebook is really intended as a tool to grow your network, to expand who you can have that influence over, the same as if you're plunking down into a networking event. Now let's talk about the second core kind of function of networking, nurturing relationships, right? So if you show up and you look around the room at that networking event and, you're really just there to give your card out and you're not actually going up to people and asking how you can help them. If you're not really listening, if you're just kind of like showing up as a pop-up ad, like you become that person at the group that people are like, oh, Chelsea's here. She never really brings any potluck or, does what we ask her to do. She's just showing up. If you're not really nurturing relationships, that's obvious offline and online. Reading cues. This is huge in social media. So if you are at this event in person and someone from across the room waves at you, maybe you've seen them at an event previously and they're giving you a cue, a social cue of like, hey, how awkward would it be if you turned around, didn't walk towards them and walked away? It would be super awkward. That's not what you would do in real life. But on social media, that social cue is when people like, comment, or share your posts. So we're going to talk a little bit about turning those leads, those people waving, into actual prospects for your products and business. But that's really just a great analogy. Consistency. If you're showing up at a networking event and maybe they meet weekly and you show up every 5th or 6th week, you're not really building that know, like, and trust value that you would be if you were showing up every single week. So consistency, online and offline, same thing. Adding value. I remember when I first started growing my practice as a young lawyer, I would show up to networking events and specifically just listen for anything that I could do to add value. It could be I heard someone asking for a babysitter. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get you someone that you can trust because that's adding to my piggy bank of relationship with them, adding value. Because if I get them a good babysitter and then they're willing to sit down for coffee and like chat with me, I've added something to their life, so they're more likely to listen to me. So adding value, in-person events, also online. And really just leading with the giver's gain mentality that not every conversation you're going to have in a real life event or online is going to lead to a product sale or a business enrollment. You wouldn't walk into a room of 50 people and be like, I showed up. This will be 50 platinum packs. Like that's not how real life happens. Instead, you show up with a mentality of giving, of finding those right people that really deserve your time, that want what you have, and developing those relationships. So I just wanted to share this to begin with because so much of what we have learned, whether you're new to network marketing and all of this feels foreign, or whether you've been in network marketing, had some success through using traditional networking, relationship building, it's the same online. It just feels different because we're doing it from behind the screen, right? But the more real you can be in your interactions, the more you can actually cut the learning curve. What's really cool with social media, especially Facebook, if you're putting yourself out on your profile very transparently with a lot of heart, right? The same way you would as if you're showing up in person, people get to know you at a pace faster than is possible in other methods. I have people come up to me at events and like hug me and they're like, oh my God, I love your wedding pictures and I watch your video, and I've never met them. But I've been hanging out with them. Their kids know my name, right? Because they watch my videos or they see my posts. You can't accelerate relationships that same way with in-person networking, but it does take some of these same social skills and really relationship building skills. So let's talk a little bit about high tech and high touch. I'm actually, even though I gather 90% of my initial conversations through Facebook, I really call myself a hybrid marketer. So if I connect with someone through Facebook and they happen to live 10 minutes away, I'm going to go have coffee with them. If I am chatting with someone on Facebook and I have their phone number, I'm going to call them. So it's not that you have to ditch what has worked, especially if you've been successful and you're saying like, okay, well now I'm just going to do something completely different. Well, not necessarily. You can dip your toe in and ease in and make sure that you're using these different tools to really deepen relationship. I did an interview with an entrepreneur last night that said, it's gather relationships however you want, but build relationship through the senses. Talk to people, see them on Zoom, see them in person, shake their hand if you can, like use the senses to deepen, but you can absolutely use digital to gather. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So some different tools on Facebook that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. Your profile and stories are fantastic ways to attract new leads every single day by creating engaging content, by branding yourself, by branding yourself, and really thinking about how you're showing up in the digital space, just the same as if you were to give a 10-minute talk at a networking event. You wouldn't just like show up, no plan, or maybe you would, but it wouldn't make a good impression. You can approach your profile and the Facebook stories in the same way of having some strategy about how you want to show up in the digital space. Facebook Messenger is a fantastic way to deepen relationships. Part of my workflow often is if someone likes one of my videos and I message them and we chat and they're interested and I get them into our team Facebook group and then they have questions, and right within a Facebook Messenger chat, I create a message with one of my upline and we hop on a video call. How cool is that, that you can actually keep someone within the Facebook space if that makes sense for the relationship, and actually use all of the strategies that we currently use as leaders in LifeVantage. So Facebook Messenger is a fantastic tool. Events and groups are really great, as ways to introduce people to tools, to get people into a group where they can see a video, or maybe you're doing a launch event and you want we're doing a lot of interviews where a brand new distributor will actually set up an event, a private event that they invite their people to, and they interview their sponsor and they have a conversation about why they started LifeVantage. That's a really cool option through Facebook. And you can also use group chats and groups. So there's lots of different tools that allow you to mimic exactly what you're trying to do in person. Now, I do want to spend just a minute on this topic of the difference between a lead and a prospect. This shifted so much for me when I really visualized this. So a lead, in my mind, when I'm looking at Facebook or social media, is someone who has done that wave, right? Someone who has engaged, who has shown up, who has sent me a friend request. So a lead is really just an addition to my database, right? So Eric Roy and so many of our leaders talk about adding names to your database daily. Using Facebook and seeing who's interacting with the posts that maybe you're sharing is a great way to add names to your database. It's not necessarily saying just because they liked a recipe you shared that they're going to join your business or buy your products, but it's actively adding new names of people that you can connect with. Now, a prospect is someone who you've actually proactively had a conversation with, and they have expressed an interest either in your products, in the business, and at least like taking a next step. And so when I started to connect the dots on this, I realized my job on social media is to get better and better at creating content, at showing up online so that I'm attracting more leads daily and having that database grown, while I proactively interact with people to see who actually out of all these leads is a prospect to benefit from our amazing products, or maybe to even join my business and grow their own business from home. So that difference between a lead and a prospect was really helpful for me to take the pressure off that not every lead is going to be a prospect, just like not every one of the 50 people in a room is going to buy a platinum pack. It's up to you to show up and add value and have those relationship building skills to see who out of all these people is the next person I'm really going to talk to about the products and the business. Now, one of the topics I really wanted to hammer home is that your story, especially on social media, is the biggest tool that you can lead with. You hear people saying, oh, what are you sending people? ABC Livid or biohacking.com or blah, 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 blah. Like there's so many links. They're all great. Whatever you're choosing to have be your first touch that you feel confident on, I love, right? But before you send a link, share your story. So I have a concept that I share with my team, and I say you've got to be a freaking lighthouse. You've got to like own your ground, shine as bright as you can, especially on social media. People are not really on social media to be sold to. They're there to be social. They are there to be gravitated towards the people they want to spend their virtual time with, right? So how can you become that person that people want to hang out with, right? A question I have a lot of people ask me is, okay, well, I want to start posting more on Facebook, or I want to have a strategy around social media, but why would anybody care what I have to say? And here's my question back to them is, why wouldn't they? If you saw value in the products, if you saw value in the business, don't you think there's someone else out there that has the same needs that you do? But if you're not sharing who you are, they're never going to know. Right? So I share this because a lighthouse has one purpose: to stand where it is, to shine a light bright for the one or two ships that needs it, right? It's not running up and down the coast being like, wait, what if there's a boat over here? Maybe I should paint some stripes. No, a lighthouse stands, is clear about who they are, what their purpose is, and shines as bright as they can. Now on social media, this matters because you are enough. Right? You don't have to have bells and whistles. You don't have to try to be like somebody else or someone you see doing. You don't have to mimic anyone. You have to be you in order to attract people that are going to have the same needs and desires as you. Now, also it matters because there are people who have what we have, who need what we have. Especially, we have some of the most important products on the planet. If you show up as who you are and you're not putting walls up in front of other people, they're going to be much more willing to listen to you. So we've had amazing trainings on how to share your story. Here's how I like to walk through it: who you are and your professional background, why you were open. Maybe you have a product version and a business version. Who introduced you to the information to really humanize this, and why you decided to jump in. Most importantly, at the end, share your vision. That is a huge impact of influence, is having a vision that other people would want to follow. And you want to lead with your story because too many people on social media are not. They're leading with links. They're leading with scripts, with copied messages from their upline. And I can tell when someone sends that to me, and so can your prospects. But if instead you show up, you're adding value, consistently providing posts, then you're hanging out as though you're at a networking event. The first thing you would do at a networking event is share your story. Instead, we can get a little bit on a crutch of social media and lead with sharing a link, and it doesn't have context. So I just wanted to paint the vision of what social media can mean for us here at LifeVantage. If you want to take a screenshot of this, this is simple homework. I know we're coming up at the end, but if you want to take a screenshot of this, some things that you could do today to start implementing what we talked about. One, this is super fun. Just put a new profile picture. Facebook algorithm actually pushes your new profile change up more than most things. So put a new profile picture up. Maybe put this would be fun. Do one post today on your personal profile that shares something you learned today that is not like LifeVantage specific. Maybe it's about something you learned about health. Maybe it's something you learned about social media. Add value with one post today. And then whoever likes, comments, and shares, picture them as waving at you. They are a lead. Chat them through Messenger. So you're basically changing your profile, putting out one post to see who's going to interact with it. proactively messaging them to say, hey, saw that you liked my profile picture. How's your weekend? Just be a normal person like you would in person. And then see if you can't get to a place with any of those people where you're able to share your story. You know, hey, I saw that you've liked a couple of my posts around, you know, health. Would it be okay if we hopped on the phone and I could share my story about what I'm doing and why you might be interested? Now, that would be deepening a relationship, but gathering online. So I figured in 25 minutes, hopefully that would help to paint the picture that social media should not be scary. It absolutely is taking traditional skill sets, just putting it online. And if you can lead with your story and lead with heart, you stand out compared to all of those that are irritating people. And you can really build your influence. And using those tools to be high tech and high touch can absolutely make you stand out in a crowd and be the one person that people say, yeah, I'm willing to hear your story. Let's chat. So I hope that this brings value to your team and maybe it helps to expand the possibilities of what is available to utilize social media. We're so fortunate to be in a company that is embracing and really pushing us to use technology in a way that many companies are not. So we have apps, we have tools, but really the biggest tool is you. If you can be a lighthouse, stand your ground, shine brightly through social media and really share your story, that's where you can grow your database, deepen the relationships, and get to an invitation to learn about our products and our business. So I'll end there because I see that we're coming up on time, and I hope that this added value to all of you.
Chelsea, that was incredible. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I got so many great notes. And I tell you what, it's lessened the burden for me. I'm one of the 40 percenters that, don't like things. I just don't know that's what you're supposed to do. So I've learned a lot. And I think my biggest takeaway, I love your analogies on everything that you said today. Lead with your story, and I hope everybody that's on here now understands why your story matters most. So that's good stuff right there. I didn't realize that 90% of your time now is building this business on Facebook. That was a big wow factor for me. I love the fact you go where the eyeballs are and money follows. I love that. I didn't realize there's that many people using Facebook daily, 1 billion and 1.2 billion on Messenger. So it's great stuff. So thank you so much for keeping it simple, helping everybody understand that it's a must. Not only is an integral part of building your business today, but in today's society, it's a must. And we're seeing it from all different venues of people that are actually doing it and have great success. And again, anything that Jill and I can do for you and your team, don't hesitate to pick up the phone. We'll do anything we can to give back to you and your team what you've done for our team today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.